on the hotel internet.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, welcome to this. So this is your first FurryCon. How many of you this is your first FurryCon? How many of you are here just because you heard this panel was hilarious? A couple of you. Wow. No, I'm kidding. We try to make it entertaining and give you a little information as well. So I don't know if Alkali is gonna show up with you or not, but we're going to talk about a lot of things that make FurryCons a little bit different than other kinds of conventions and why we do some of the things that we do. Also, for those of you that this is your first FurryCon, I do have a little ribbon that says first time attendee after the panel. If you'd like to come up and grab one, you can attach it to your Megaplex badge, which everyone is wearing, right? Right? Everyone's wearing your badge. You're all good. You're not doing a naughty thing called ghosting. It's a bad thing. We're going to talk about that too. So, with FurryCons, I like to give the description. It's cutting out quite a bit. I like to hello. And
swap mics.
Hey.
Mine works just fine.
Thank you, Stitch. Let's swap them out.
Yeah, let's switch them out. Let's see if the problem follows the user.
Yeah, let's see what happens. So, a lot of people that have come up to me over the years, in fact, let me introduce myself first. I am KP. I helped start this convention. I'm also on the board of directors for Anthrocon, the board of directors for Megaplex. I'm a media liaison for Texas Furry Fiesta, and I'm an attaché for the chairman for Midwest Fur Fest. So I do a lot of things with furry conventions all around the United States. I've been to Europe before. I'm never staffed there. I don't plan on it because it's more fun to be a tourist there. They treat you better. If you're staffed, they treat you like crap. That's what we all do. But I do have a lot of experience with furry conventions dating all the way back to 1999. That was my first furry convention. And a lot of people have asked, what is all this? Who are you people? And there's an answer that I like to give, and I'll share that with you. And I hope that if you understand this, it probably will let it resonate really well. To know who a furry is, you need to know who a furry was. We were the fat kid that never got called on recess. We were the skinny kid that was always getting picked on after school. We were the brainy kid that everybody wanted to cheat on for tests but never got invited to parties. We were that awkward kid that stood up against the wall at dances waiting for someone to ask us to dance but never got asked. We were all the kids who craved social interaction from our peers, but we never found it from our friends that were children. We found it in the happy, smiling, and accepting faces of the cartoon characters that we found on television. That's who we were. Who are we today? We're simply people who never forgot our childhood friends. If you feel any kind of a resonance with that, if that tugs at you just a little bit, and you say, I get that, you can understand what furries really are. We're people that are very creative. We create our own characters and our own personas. We bring them alive in the form of fursuits, in the form of art, in the form of poetry, writing, music, performance art, and all other kinds of things that we like to do to show that we have some kind of a connection to the idea that animals could walk and talk if we had our way. So that's kind of who furries are. And I always kind of start this panel with that because I want people to understand, I get it. I'm part of it. I know what it is, and I want you to understand that I'm trying to talk to you on a level that everybody else can understand as well. Because I want us to be an open and accepting kind of an area from an artistic standpoint. So, if it's your first FurryCon, you'll notice fursuiters walking around. A lot of people in other fandoms call it cosplay. We do not call it cosplay. We've been calling it fursuiting since the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. This term has been around for a very long time, and that's why furries are very defiant in trying to rename it as cosplay. The other thing that makes the furry fandom a little different, especially in terms of costuming, is we are not what I classify a consumer convention. And by that, and forgive me, I actually have some damage in my feet, so I can't walk around and stand too much. That's why I'm sitting, so I apologize. But what I mean by a consumer convention is we do not require someone else to create work for us to base our fandom on. We are not reliant on George Lucas and the Star Wars universe. We are not reliant on Gene Roddenberry and the Star Trek universe. Yes, we're kind of riffing on it, but we're not reliant on it for the bulk of our characters. We don't rely on anime characters and people like Miyazaki to bring our characters to life. Nor do we need people like Arthur Conan Doyle or Sherlock Holmes. Those are other artists that have created things, and people go to conventions to consume their work. That's why we call them consumer conventions. We are a producer convention. Virtually every single person here has a unique character. You created it yourself. It comes from your mind and your mind alone. And you have decided how that character will behave, how that character looks, what kind of an attitude it has, what worldview it possesses, where it can exist and what it does. You are a creator, you're a producer. That's why we call the furry fandom a producer convention. It is a convention of people creating their own material and sharing it with everyone else. A guest of honor at Anthrocon once said that he figured out furries are fans of each other. And that's really what we are. If you walk around, you'll notice a lot of people know the people in these hallways or some of the characters walking around. They're well recognized, but they're still original. So that's a unique bent on the furry fandom. It's something we possess that most other conventions can't even begin to grapple with. And that's kind of one of the reasons I really like it, is any person here can create a character, and if you put enough heart and soul into it and enough work into it, like Sunny Dingo, who only came into existence a couple of years ago, he is now a furry superstar. Lots and lots of people all over the world know who he is because he fursuits and he does an amazing job at it. If you work hard and you can do something with your character, you'll get noticed. There are things that we do at furry conventions that are also unique. And one of them does involve fursuit etiquette. And I'm going to pick on a fursuiter. There's one right here in the front that has a little flag. Yes, you. I'm going to pick on you. I'm going to ask you to come up here real quick and ask you to stand up, and I will stand up. How many of you have ever worn a fursuit? How many of you have not? Raise your hands, big and high. It's the vast majority of the room. I'm going to do something. I'm going to have you stand over here. I'm going to stand behind you, and I'm going to put my, no, turn around. I'm going to stand behind you, and I'm going to put my hands up on both sides of your head. When you can see my hands, I want you to raise both your left and your right hand respectively to indicate you can see the hands, okay?
This is this person's field of vision. Can't see anything outside of this area. So something over here, not visible. Something over here, not visible. If I were to walk up to this person, please stand right there and don't move. I'm going to be careful. If I were to walk up doing this, running and jumping, this person would have absolutely no idea that I was about to jump on them and give them a hug. This has happened at a number of conventions.
This has happened at a number of conventions and resulted in dislocated shoulders, broken legs, dislocated knees, broken or dislocated ankles, and fractured wrists. Because they have fallen and they didn't expect it, they didn't know how to fall or to prep for it. Always approach a fursuiter from the front. It's very important because that's the only place they can really see you. Also, is it a little warm in there right now? Just a hair? How many of you know what the internal temperature of a fursuit head gets to be after about 2 minutes?
Correct me if I'm wrong, it's, I want to say 100 plus.
It is. Do you know the exact number?
Oh god, I'm trying to remember. Somewhere between the 110, 120 area, I believe.
The average temperature of a fursuit head after it's been worn for approximately 2.5 minutes is 123 degrees on the inside. That's why when you see people take fursuit heads off, they're usually really dripping with sweat. It might be in their eyes. They might have sweatbands that they have to change out. It's really warm. If they're wearing a full suit, partial suits do allow for ventilation around the edges of the head. Most people radiate most of their body heat from the top of their heads, your hands, and your feet. Because the ankles and the wrists can be exposed on a suit like this, as well as the neck, it can help with ventilation. However, if you see someone in a full head-to-toe fursuit, like Mike over here, there is no space for ventilation. Mike has to be very careful. You notice also the only vent places on the head are the eyes and the mouth. That's the only place he can see and the only place he can breathe from. So when people start playing around, wrap their hands around a person's neck and accidentally cover up the mouth, you have just covered up where he breathes. Thank you, Mike. And thank you, what was your name? Nico. Thank you, Nico. Appreciate it. And I apologize. I'm going to ask if someone could grab me a glass of water. I actually just took some medication and I'm getting cotton mouth, so I apologize. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're seeing me licking my mouth a lot, and that is a medical reaction. I apologize. Much better, thank you. So, another thing about fursuits, because of the heat, and because of their limited visibility, we always ask that people let fursuiters onto elevators first. It is a rule at almost every furry convention. We grant elevators that privilege, or grant fursuiters that elevator privilege. Reason why, many fursuiters try to keep what we call the magic alive. Try to keep the character integrity alive as long as possible. If they start overheating, start having trouble seeing, or heaven forbid, are starting to have trouble breathing, sometimes they panic and they don't forget that they forget they can take their heads off. And they try to get upstairs as fast as they can. If you see a fursuiter doing this in costume, don't try to take a picture of them. Let them go. If they are going to an elevator, move them to the #1 spot at the elevator line. Let them get on the elevator first. They have to get where they're going. This is a health concern. This is not just something we do to be nice. This is to prevent them from having heat stroke. And it is entirely possible that even if they take off their head, they could have started having heat stroke and are having a reaction and need to get upstairs and put a cold compress on their forehead quickly. So we don't joke about the fursuiter first rule. It is a hard and fast rule. Every security person knows it, every staff member knows it, every fursuiter knows it. We ingrain that in them to keep them safe. It's not trying to be cute and it's not trying to be polite. It's really trying to make sure that people are not going to have a health concern. So we ask that everybody please observe that rule. Even if there are long lines, if you see a fursuiter, please push them, help them get to the front of the line. Don't push them, but try to get them gently to the front of the line so they can get upstairs, take off their fursuit. If they necessarily need to take a shower or something to cool their body off so they don't get sick, that's what we need them to do. Okay? So another thing we're going to talk about real quick has to do with lost and found. Now, this already happened. Right after opening ceremony, someone came up to me and said, "Where's lost and found?" Somebody lost their cell phone. And they held up a cell phone in a special case. All items that we find in con space are typically turned into con ops. That's over by the registration area, just to the right of the registration area down that hallway. It's in the lobby area of the hotel. The furry community is very trusting. And
Hello.
hi. Most of the time, people that find things do turn them in. We still recommend that you label products. One thing that is very helpful, especially with cell phones, change your lock screen to have either your room number or some piece of contact information on it so they don't have to try to open the phone. As soon as they turn the screen on, the lock screen may have your room number. That's an easy way for either the hotel or the convention to get your phone back to you. And that works better than you know. And people do lose their cell phones. It falls out of pockets. You might take it out, put it on a chair, and then get excited, walk off, and forget that you put it down. So that's one thing. Another thing that's kind of unusual about furry conventions are sketchbooks. How many people here have sketchbooks? I want you to keep your hands up. And I'm going to keep describing the sketchbook until it no longer fits your description. It's black. A couple of hands went down. It's got more than 100 pages in it. It has art drawn in it in pencil. These are the descriptions that we get when people lose their sketchbooks. Well, it was black. It's got mostly pencil drawings. It's got over 100 pages. Only about 20 pages are drawn in. What we recommend, you can put your hands down now. Actually, if you want to keep them up, that's just fine. What we recommend for sketchbooks, especially ones that are very average looking, things that are black, they look like just general things you buy from an art supply store. Put your name, whether it's your furry name or your real name, on the inside front cover. Also put either your Twitter account, your email address, a contact telephone number, or some way that someone can reach you if it is lost. Because I'm sure you would probably like to be reunited with your sketchbook. Mine has been going since 2001. It's 16 years of artwork. I don't want to lose it. So I have a lot of things in it to make sure that people know what it looks like and that it can get back to me if it is misplaced. So that's something we highly recommend. Put on your cell phone, put something on your lock screen so that people can get a hold of you, especially the hotel. And if you have a sketchbook, just write your name and a piece of contact information somewhere on the inside cover. Someplace it's easy to find. The most horrible thing in the world is end of con and we have 20 sketchbooks that have been turned in and we have no idea how to get them back to who they own, who their owners are. And it's even worse if we actually have to look through them and say, oh my God, do I want to find this person? Which has happened twice. It's like me looking at the book this way. And then I start doing this. You know, it's not fun. So yeah, so we don't have to flip through it. Put some identification in your book. The other thing that's really important about running around in the con space is the badges. We touched on this during opening ceremonies. This is your con badge. We like to make it cute here at Megaplex. We try to theme them and make them really fun. But this is what allows you access to the convention space. This is space we paid for. It is private space. Not just anyone. 1, 2, there we go. Not just anyone can come in. You have to have this badge. That's done for 2 reasons. It's not just because we're trying to pay for the convention. It's not just a money-making thing. Unfortunately, there are individuals in this world who have not so nice plans when they come to a convention. They may have another agenda. It could be trying to embarrass someone, it could be trying to find out information about someone, or it could just be someone who is a troublemaker. This is what allows us to keep people out that are not supposed to be here. You can think of various protest groups as examples. You would not want certain groups sitting out by the pool chanting while you're trying to walk by and grab lunch. It's just not going to make you comfortable. This says when you walk into Megaplex space, you're allowed to be here. You're supposed to be here. You're invited to be here. If you have just a character art badge, which you can commission in our dealer's room, many of the artists in Artist Alley dealer's room, talented artists, by the way, will draw your character however you want. Those are character badges. They do not grant you access to our space. You have to have this to go into the dealer's room, you have to have it to be in this room, you have to walk around our hallways. If you see this badge, you know someone has registered and we can contact them if there's a problem. We do know every once in a while there are people that try to make their way onto various hotel properties with the express purpose of creating a problem for a certain group of individuals, whoever that might be. Might be someone that they have problems with online, might be people that do not like people of a certain persuasion, whatever that might be. We don't want them here. We want you to have a good experience. We don't want them to ruin your experience. So always keep your badge on. It's really important. Okay? And I'm not trying to harp on it, I'm just trying to really impress how serious that can be. We don't want anybody hurt, we don't want anybody offended, we don't want anybody getting into a situation where your entire weekend has been ruined by one interaction with people who are not supposed to be in our space. Okay? We want you to be happy attendees, big smiles. Spaceship's second prize is a happy place. There are other things that happen at conventions. A lot of our events are very attendee driven. I'm going to be hosting one about 4 o'clock, I believe, in this room. It's called Dance Mania. Dance Mania is a lights up dance event that is not done like the nighttime dances where the lights are down, it's very fast music, and it's heavy light. This is an event where it's all poppy music, a little bit more like radio play, and it's designed so that whoever's on the dance floor, if you catch the eyes of the cameraman, you're going to get on camera. That's the point of this. I'm going to get another drink of water, I'm sorry. That's the point of that event. And one of the things Megaplex likes to do is try to put things in place so that you, the attendees, are the stars. It's not about us on stage talking, it's about you creating a fun environment. So please check out the program guide. Find events that you're interested in. The Dance Comp is a wonderful event, lots of fun there. Dance Mania is for you guys to participate and dance your heart out for an hour. There are a lot of family events. Megaplex Late Night tonight is going to be kind of fun. A little bit, and I wouldn't say mature humor, but it is a little more grown-up humor. So there might be some jokes that are a little bit more on the ooh, I don't believe you said that, but nothing profane. We won't go there. Other kinds of things. We're going to have a Fursuit parade tomorrow. A lot of people seem to really like that. I see some people. I hear a lot of flapping and clapping from people that have paws. I hear them behind me. And that's a very fun sound. One other thing I do want to talk about, and this is kind of my forte, but it's one of those things that it's hard for me to talk about because a lot of people don't understand it until they've experienced it. It has to do with media. So the furry fandom has garnered a lot of attention in the past few years, and a lot of it is positive, and it's because of the hard work of a lot of people trying to make sure that furry conventions are being represented by individuals who know how to speak to people. There were instances in the past 20 years where different reporters, and I'm going to use that word in quotation marks, different reporters have gone to conventions and decided they had a very specific angle they wanted to cover, and they were going to do anything to make it look like they could get what they wanted. And so the example of one is one that happened at Anthrocon. There was a young lady, she was 17 years old, was just turning 18 on the weekend, and a reporter came up to her, and she was a fursuiter, and they said, so, what do you think of all this? She goes, oh, it's a great convention, I really love it, I've been dreaming of coming here for years. And are you a fursuiter? Oh yes, I built my fursuit myself. Oh, well, what's it like inside the costume? Temperature-wise, are you comfortable? And she goes, oh, it's really hot. And the reporter continued, well, what about, in the summer sun, can you keep cool? And she goes, well, it's a challenge, but, we do our best. That was not what aired on the newscast. The reporter only used one line of the person's interview and put a different question in front of it. The question that was asked on the air was, so, do wearing these costumes give you some kind of sexual satisfaction? And the answer was, oh yeah, it's really hot. Took it completely out of context, but the reporter got what they wanted. The young lady actually has never been back to a furry convention because she was just too embarrassed. Her family really got on her case about it, and it made a mess for her. That's what we're trying to avoid. We are very careful with media coverage. We do not just let anyone in, and we definitely do not let just anyone talk to attendees. If you see a person who is purporting themselves to be a reporter, and they say they're with ABC, CBS, or NBC this weekend, they are lying to you. Because I talked to ABC, NBC, and CBS, and CNN. None of them are going to be here this weekend. There is possibly going to be a reporter from Florida Magazine on Sunday. I will be with her if this reporter does show. If you see someone who's trying to do random on-the-spot interviews and they do not have a press badge, and I can tell you there should not be any because we did not issue any for the full weekend. If you see someone that is interviewing without a staff member nearby and they don't have a press badge, contact a security member or a staffer. Do not answer their questions. We don't know what their motive or intent is. However, they have not gotten approval from Megaplex to be here. That's what we do. We try very hard to keep bad media out, good media in. And the reason is primarily your security, your privacy, and your personal space. We very highly value your privacy. We do not divulge the attendee information from Megaplex to anyone. And we do not allow people to violate your sense of privacy. If this is your weekend to just relax and you want to wear a fursuit, or you just want to wear ears and a tail, or you want to just go around collecting drawings, that is your affair. That is your business and nobody else's. And we don't want anyone infringing on your freedom to do that comfortably. So if you see someone acting as a reporter who should not be, let us know. If you see someone who's acting as a reporter but they have a staff member, especially one that says board on the bottom, they're probably okay because we're walking them, we're escorting them. But we don't want unescorted media here at all. That being said, we do not have control of the lobby or other public hotel spaces. We only control our convention space. If you see a reporter in the lobby, or you see someone doing something in the lobby or by the pool or other places where not just our attendees are, but they seem to be focusing on our attendees, tell a security person we'll get with the hotel and the hotel handle it. It's not our jurisdiction, we can't touch it, but we still want you to feel comfortable. So we will handle it. Also, there's a lot of construction that's going on. They're very busy bees outside and they buzz a lot. We're gonna be nice to them. We'll give them fuzzy hugs. Maybe. But be kind to the hotel and to the facility folks. They are working. They're doing a job. And I know sometimes things can be hot, things can be frustrating. It's Florida, and I apologize that it's the middle of the summertime. It's the best time we could get for inexpensive hotel rooms for you guys. We think this is better than you having to pay $240 a night for a hotel room. So that's the alternative in going into what are called peak convention times. We try to keep our costs down for you. Does anybody have any questions about things you see here or things you would like to know about furry conventions? Yes.
When they, the sponsor badges, what
Sponsor badges? So what's the question about sponsor badges?
what are they in general?
What are they in general? Oh, okay. So good question. So he's seen people with sponsor badges. What does that mean? There are multiple levels of membership here at the convention. There's attendee, and there's actually even one below attendee. It's called single day. Those people either get a badge or they get an armband. But you have attendee, and then you have sponsor. They pay a little bit more for their membership. Sponsors get extra perks. They get access to the sponsor lounge, which is on the top floor of the tower. They can stop in and get a quick snack and a quick drink. They can relax. It's air-conditioned space. There are super sponsors. That's a level above that. I think they pay $160 for their 3-day membership. Those individuals not only get all the perks of a sponsor, but they get a convention t-shirt. They also have the ability to go to a special luncheon on Saturday to meet the guests of honor. And they usually get access to the front row for special events. Then there are the special ones, mega and giga sponsors. These are the $500 and $1,000 memberships. Those are the special people who actually make it possible for us to engage new things. The original intent of the mega sponsor was to bring in a Broadway musical act, which we did for Megaplex 3. In the past, mega sponsors have been responsible for upgrading the audio equipment, and giga sponsors upgrading the audio equipment, making it possible for us to not have to charge increases to general memberships so that we could pay for hotel costs up front, buying other types of equipment that we need, and sometimes bringing in specialty acts like Fosgate, Ferret Loan Officer, that musical that Rhubarb did. So that's what they are. They're just different membership levels that pay higher dollar amounts, and that extra money is used for other convention things. We try to roll as much of that as we can into things all attendees can get. Just so that you guys know, did y'all notice the cool little posters out here in the hallway? The characters that were on there are all super sponsors. Well, most of them. One is a different poster, but most of them are super sponsors. The first 10 to 12 super sponsors at Megaplex get their character included on the posters in the hall art. And those go into the archive at the end of the year, and in a future year, they're all brought back. And they line the halls of the hotel, like last year, and people can go back and look at them. So they keep coming back. And there are certain characters that are on there over and over again because they're one of the first super sponsors. I have my personal favorites, but that's just because I am. Also, we do have some things like if you saw it right outside the door, there's one of these light up panels, but the buttons are all lit. If you interact with that, the switches actually turn on and off and the lights blink and do things. Be gentle with it because it is something we built ourselves, but it was designed as a photo op for you to be able to push buttons and turn lights on and off and feel like you're on a computer bridge of like Star Trek or something you can interact with. And if you take a really close look, you'll see some paw prints in the lights. It's like a little Easter egg that we threw in there. So we try to play with the theme as much as we can in little ways. Does anybody else have a question? Yes, right here.
So, so wearing something like this and wearing something like that, that's all fursuiting.
We classify a fursuit as really anything that brings an animal character into existence. Now, if it's an anime character, that's really more cosplay. Okay. It's not fursuit, because it's not a furry type character. And again, because the term fursuit has been used since the 90s, it's very hard for those of us that have been doing it for 20, 30 years to change the idea of there being a difference between cosplay and fursuit. To us, there is a difference because these are individual, unique characters that most of us are creating ourselves. But yes, if it's based on an animal character, it's typically going to be a fursuit. There's a very famous walrus character that attends most of the Northeast cons. It's a latex mask. He wears a tuxedo, has latex feet, and white gloves. It's still fursuiting, even though it's mostly clothes with just a mask and feet, but he plays the character out to the T. He walks around with an old walking stick, and he's like the walrus from Alice in Wonderland. That's his character. Any other questions? Anything else? Feel free to ask. Yeah, so we go.
I don't have a question, but I think that on top of Fursuit Etiquette, I'm just like to mention it, you should probably mention that some fursuiters have kind of picky about who they want to promote, who wants to come to the suits, because these are $1,000 suits.
So, if you didn't hear him, what he's saying is, and not so much a question, but a comment. There are some fursuiters who are very particular about who touched them. A lot of people think a fursuit is an open invitation for a hug. And in the earliest days of the fandom, that was pretty much true. Even if we built them ourselves, fursuiters were known for just, someone walks up to them, can I get a hug? Boom, they got a hug. There are some fursuiters now who are very particular about that. They don't like to be touched. They're there just to do the costuming, but they don't want a lot of physical interaction. A fursuit is not an invitation to touch them. You have to ask permission. Also, on the subject of fursuits, especially full body fursuits, a lot of people think it's okay to do things like scritching. Does anybody know what scritching is? Scritching is scratching with your fingernails. The problem is, if you do scritching or you rub in circular motions or you pat back and forth, the fur mats. And if it's brushed out and some of that fur gets pulled out, it does not grow back. It is permanently removed. That is one of the things that leads to a fursuit being prematurely retired or having to be redone. It is okay to pet a fursuit if they say it's okay to touch them. But you should never scratch or scritch a fursuit or do something to mat the fur. Also, I'll get to you in 1 second. It is not okay for you to eat a bag of Cheetos and then decide to go hug a fursuiter. If you are wearing lipstick, don't kiss them. If you have lots and lots of facial makeup on, don't rub your face up against their cheek ruffs, especially white suitors. And that's not being a racist thing, that's saying that the white fur is very susceptible to staining. We have had people that have spilled like Hawaiian Punch on white fursuits. We have had people that have kissed with big red lipstick onto any different fursuit and it stains. We've also had people that just finished eating pepperoni pizza and Cheetos and then decided, oh, that's really cute. Gave a hug and there's grease stains and all kinds of mess all over them. Some of these suits are very, very expensive. Does anybody know what currently the highest purported cost for a fursuit in the furry fandom, not just here, in the fandom is? Yes.
I believe it's Cryo, and he's at 14 grand, I believe.
$14,000. It is a highly customized costume that actually has a superhero costume on top of it.
It's really cool.
So it's a fursuit, a bird fursuit with wings that, yes, with wings, but he also has like a spandex bodysuit that goes over that along with a little mask that goes over the face of the bird, and it has custom lenses that can change color in the eyes. It was very hard to make, it took a long time to manufacture, and he did pay $14,000 to have it done by different people for different components. You don't want to mess up a suit like that. We've had people that thought it was cool to pull tails, and then they ripped the tail right off, and it was sewn on. It wasn't put on through a belt. Caused a rip in the bodysuit. It was an $1,100 repair. You don't want to be responsible for an $1,100 repair. You will also make an enemy of the fursuiter because you just ruined their weekend. So don't pull on tails, don't pull on ears. I see a bunny over there that's like nodding. Don't pull on the ears. If you pull them off, it will hurt the person inside far more than it will hurt the fursuit head, because they will have to repair and possibly replace. It's not good. And sometimes also these are labors of love. These are sometimes costumes that people build themselves and spend years constructing. I can see some people on the front row that may have built their own heads. There. It's pretty devastating when someone does something to something that you spent the better part of 6 months to a year building and making it look right. It is devastating. It happened to me once, never again. So don't do things to people thinking you're being cute and all of a sudden you've just damaged a costume. So, pretty good? Does that cover what we thought we wanted to cover? Okay, good. Any other questions? Fursuits, artists, stuff. Yes, right here.
Just adding on to the stitching thing that you said, especially suits with like fleece, some of them have fleece faces or leather or faux leather noses or anything like that. They can be damaged by nails, but also anything scratchy that you might have on you, like badges or a bag or whatever other accessories you might have. So if you're gonna hug somebody and you see that they're fragile, just move your badges out of the way or something so they don't snag or out fur.
Very good point. You can damage things just by hugging someone with a badge on. Also, don't think it's cute to maybe playfully bop someone on the nose, not knowing what that nose is made of. If it's made of super sculpey, you could crack it and half of it fall away right in front of your eyes. That would be bad. Having a bunny with a broken nose would be very sad. Yes, that would be very sad. Any other questions about how furry conventions operate? Things we do? Yes, Mr. Bunny.
How can you keep? What's the question?
What is it? Think.
How do you stay in the suit longer? Like, how can you make it more colder, or is there any tricks?
How do you build up endurance? That's probably what he's asking. How can you stay in your costume longer, build up endurance? There are mechanical ways. As a fursuiter, I can tell you I know people that have installed computer fans. They're very small, low wattage, and that will help increase airflow. You have to carve out a small chamber for it to sit in, to do that, and a place for the battery pack. You can do that. You can do what Floridians do, like Gappy and I have done for the better part of 15 years. You just deal with it. You stay in suit for 20 minutes one day, and then the next time you stay in for 25 minutes, and the next time for 30 minutes, and you just build up the ability. Always keep yourself hydrated, lots and lots of water. Don't be afraid to pop your head. Just realize once you pop your head, you're going to probably put it back on, and you're going to get tired a lot faster. That is kind of a thing. Is once you take your head off the first time to cool off, the next time is probably going to be shorter and progressively shorter and shorter until you have to just go in, take a shower, and rest. It's just kind of the way the human body works. Yes.
You want to explain the concept of headless lounges?
Headless lounges. So, how many of you have heard of the headless lounge? How many of you know what it is? How many of you know it is not a social zone? Good for you. So the thing about headless lounges, they are places that furry conventions designate for fursuiters to take off their head and get water. And that's really the focal point. We try to keep airflow in there constantly moving. It's not so much necessary that it's cold, so long as the air movement is there, because it's the air movement that actually helps people cool off faster. The problem is a lot of people think it's okay to socialize in there. And that's not a good thing, because there may be many, many suitors who need access to that, especially on a day like today where it's going to be 95 degrees with a heat index of 101. where they want to go in and cool off real quick and get that water and be healthy. So that's what the headless zones are. They're places for people to go and pop their heads, and that's what we call it. Take their heads off, relax in a chair, be able to sit in front of a fan for 10, 20 minutes, get some water, cool off, and then get ready to go back out and costume some more. We want you to have fun. We just don't want people in there that are not fursuiters, because we want the people that need access to that facility to be able to get it.
I believe you're also not supposed to take pictures in the headless zone.
Yes, it is a no photography zone, because people might be in various stages of undress, whether they're just popping the top of the bodysuit down, they might just have the head off. Some people actually take the whole bodysuit off and they're just in like a spandex undersuit. People are very uncomfortable if people bring cameras out in the headless zones. So it's a no photography zone. Yes.
Where does the charity money go?
Where does the charity money go? My pocket. No, actually not. Our designated charity is the Care Foundation. They are out in, I believe, Christmas, Florida. I have to take a look at the location. I want to make sure the address is always good. But they have been our charity for a number of years. They have two missions. They rescue lots of wildlife that cannot be taken care of either at a zoo, or they get it from locations where people thought it would be a good idea to have a pet tiger. And then they realized as the tiger got bigger and bigger and bigger that, hey, this thing is bigger than I am, it's probably not going to make a very good pet. It's wanting to eat me. So they do that, but also they encourage local Florida wildlife conservation. How many of you know what a Florida panther is? How many of you know how endangered it is? How endangered is it?
Extremely.
It is actually considered a non-viable species at this point. It is going to, if we do not do something drastic, it is going to be extinct in our lifetime. That's because the Florida panther, and the Care Foundation will go over this, but it requires a certain amount of land to hunt. And so what they're doing right now is they're importing Texas pumas to mate with them to try to keep the species alive. It is kind of sad, but purebred Florida panthers will not exist the way we know them in the next 50 years. They just won't. It's done. It's a done species. So what they're doing is they're trying to bring in a species very close to it that can help keep all of the traits alive, so that it will stay in Florida. Because it is unique. If you've never seen a Florida panther, highly recommend going out to the Care Foundation. They do have one, and only one, alive that's out there. And it's in a very comfortable little enclosure where it can swim and jump and climb and do all kinds of kitty things that it wants to do. But at the same time, it shows people how unique this character or this critter is. It has spots on its fur that you can only see when the light hits it a certain way. And it's really cool. I've actually been able to touch one. At Megaplex, we had one here when they were allowed to be brought out in public, and I got a photograph taken with it. His name was Kache. Very, very cool. A cool cat in the extreme. But that's where the money goes. It goes to the Care Foundation to help wildlife conservation, as well as to care for the animals that have been retrieved from circuses, sideshows, and other places where people just should not have had certain kinds of animals to begin with. Not a good idea. Yeah.
The Fursuit Parade?
Fursuit Parade. So the Fursuit Parade happens tomorrow. I have to double check the time. I believe we moved it into the evening hours.
We did. I want to say the lineup's at 7:30.
I'm tempted to say you're right. I don't want to speak off the top of my head.
Yeah, let me
but we
check.
moved it into the evening. That does make it a little bit more challenging from a vision standpoint. However, it's going to make it probably about 10 degrees cooler. So I think the fursuiters will appreciate the fact that it's not 3 in the afternoon and 102 degrees in the shade.
Yeah, lineups at 7:30. Parade starts at 8.
Yes, and we do the photograph before the parade.
Yes.
Yes.
I play guitar. Is there a place to play it outside publicly?
We do not have any place secured ourselves. You can always get with the hotel and ask them if there's some place that they would say is okay. I don't want to say just do anything specific publicly because, again, the hotel may have something going on we don't know about outside our space. And there are other guests that are just here for theme parks and stuff. But you can always check with them, and if they have a space available, they'll let you know. Okay? Yes?
If any part of a costume gets damaged, is there a place on site that may have sewing supplies or?
So the headless zone should have some repair facility. Also, there are some people, I believe one is in the dealer's room, that are offering repair services if a fursuit gets damaged. Hot glue, sewing, stitching, emergency like white fur, black fur. I have the very standard common colors. Yes?
First time fursuiters, which programs would you recommend to help improve their abilities to make suits?
So, are you saying to make fursuits or to perform in them? To make them. There are some fursuiter builder panels. I honestly can't say because I don't know which ones are being held by who. I don't know which ones would be the best. However, just kind of, I would check in with anyone that is talking about fursuit building. There are different kinds of builds, and it really depends on what they're going to do. I would highly recommend actually one person in particular, one of our guests of honor, Cody. He actually is a very accomplished fursuit builder. He's worked for several fursuit companies before he created Cody Made fursuits, and there are a number of them running around this weekend. He would be a great person to talk to in terms of how to build foam blocks for head carving, about putting together patterns and matching fur and also trimming fur, because he does that as well. So that would be a good person to talk to. And if he doesn't have a panel, I would actually, if you find him at one of his panels, ask him afterwards. Say, hey, would you mind talking to me or talking to some of us about some fursuit construction techniques? There's some very specific things I'm curious about. Cody is one of the most approachable people. I've known him for probably 15 years. Like I said, he's the chairman of Midwest Fur Fest. He's also a very inspirational speaker. If you ask him about what he does in real life, he's always on the go career-wise. I think he just got another promotion / new position. Very dynamic individual and a very successful individual. So he's really an inspiration to talk to. But he's also extremely humble. He doesn't throw it in everybody's face. So really good guy. Highly recommend talking to him. Anybody else? Yes, back in the back.
So we're staying at the Olympic Hotel.
Uh-huh.
Are there areas for stopping and eating if we drop food?
Are there areas for stopping and eating food when you're staying at another hotel?
Yes.
So the hotel restaurant here actually has a really nice menu.
Well, I don't drop food. I didn't know if there's specific areas that are okay to sit.
So you don't want to sit around the restaurant. Laguna, all of the tables are for paying customers. However, you find an area right outside the market, that would probably be acceptable. There are also some social areas around the tower that you could probably sit at and chill with friends and eat. That would probably be good. I would probably avoid the lobby area just because the hotel has a kind of a sit-down restaurant and bar in there. And you want to avoid any place where people are paying to eat, where they'll see that you brought something in. Yes?
Where is the tower?
The tower, if you come out of this building and you kind of go straight towards where the restaurants are, it's right across from the restaurant. We call it the tower because it's the only 17-story building on property. Was there another one over here first? Yes.
How is the dance competition judged?
How is the dance competition judged? So this is a perpetual, ongoing argument / question. Every dance competition does have its own rules. However, the judges, quote unquote, the people that are actually moving people forward, are going to look at a few things. One, they're going to look at how much of the floor you use. They're going to look at originality of footwork. They'll be looking at how many dance styles you incorporate into your routine within a 2-minute period. They will be looking for proficiency within different dance styles. And they'll be looking for crowd-pleasing ability or enthusiasm. So if you do something that gets a lot of the crowd active, that's going to impact your score. There are many other nuances. It really depends on the judge, because some of the judges are professional ballroom competitors. Some of them are professional street dance competitors. Some of them are just people who've won a lot of dance competitions. So it depends on who you ask as to what they're looking for. But does that maybe help you get an idea? Okay. Yes.
So sponsor suite, that's on the 17th floor.
That is on the 17th, the sponsor suite is on the 17th floor of the tower.
Okay.
For those that are there anybody here who's a sponsor? Okay, first of all, thank you very much. We appreciate it because you guys help us get a lot of the stuff going at the convention. It pays for a lot of things. The sponsor suite is a place where you can go and grab drinks, snacks, all kinds of things at no charge. We pay for it. And you can rest up there. I think there's a video game system up there if you want to watch a movie, what have you. There are, like I said, lots of beverages and things to drink and snack on. Not really full food, because that's really the hotel's domain. But you can grab a quick snack on the go, stuff like that up there. Yes?
What about those who actually like brought their computers and drawing tablets?
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay for us to sit in the tower and just draw?
If you brought your own tablet and your own computer and you want to draw anywhere, so long as you're not creating a problem for anybody, you can do that any place. You can do that while you're eating dinner at the restaurant. You can do that, you know, in the tower. The thing you can't do is you can't charge because there are sales tax agreements and licenses that have to be met when you're charging for services in Florida. So that is why Artist Alley and the Dealer's Den have doors that actually close, and we talk with people about their tax licenses and stuff before they take their tables and whatnot. So you want to make sure that you're not charging for anything. But if you just want to sit and jam and draw with people, there's really no place that precludes that unless the hotel says you're creating a fire hazard by having too many people congregating in one area. Always obey the hotel.
Did we go over the 621 rule?
We went over 621 during opening ceremonies, but I can go over it real quick. Does everybody here know what 621 is? Who does not? Okay. There's one lonely person in the back who does not know what 621 is. There's two lonely people in the back. 621 is a rule that was devised by a person who attends a sci-fi convention. It basically means you need to have 6 hours of sleep a day, 2 good meals per day, and 1 shower minimum per day. These are minimums. Mike, could you do me a favor and grab a glass of water for me, please? Thank you. The reason is as such. For 6 hours of sleep, there's a reason why you need at least 6 hours of sleep. The human body was not designed to run 24/7. It is a machine, just like every other machine. It needs rest. It does have to stop and kind of recharge itself. It's why you have food and drink, but also why you have sleep. If you do not sleep, there is a very specific reaction that happens to you, and it occurs around your immune system. We have people here from 4 continents and lots of states and many countries. And they're all carrying all kinds of bugs with them and little things that they're immune to, but you might not be. If your immune system is compromised because you didn't sleep and you're tired, you are going to start becoming patient zero of a little thing we call con crud. Con crud is not a specific disease. It is all the diseases that you're exposed to all weekend combining and coalescing into one soupy mix that gives you sore throats and gives you fever and makes you want to throw up and makes you sweat, makes you cold all at the same time. Because you might have 2 or 3 different diseases at the same time. Getting at least 6 hours of sleep helps prevent that because it keeps your immune system active. The 2 for 2 good meals means that you need to eat 2 nutritious meals. Pixie sticks and monster drinks don't count.
A bag of Doritos does not count.
You must eat something that has nutritional value. Protein, fruit, a sandwich, something decent. Reason for that, again, goes back to your immune system and your energy levels. We have actually had people who have passed out because they forgot to eat from Thursday evening to Sunday afternoon. They're so excited they just forgot. Went to bed, woke up, started bouncing around, and then all of a sudden on Sunday, they're in the lobby looking like a zombie. We're like, are you okay? They're getting ready to keel over, and the first question we ask, when was the last time you ate? Thursday. What did you have to eat? Pixie sticks and a monster drink. That doesn't work for the human body for 3 days. So You need to eat something, drink something. We're in Florida. Orange juice is very prominent here. We have great orange juice. Have some. It's really good. And then 1 shower a day. The 1 shower a day comes from the fact that the human body has one of the worst olfactory systems, meaning the sense of smell, of any animal on the planet. Have you ever noticed how when you get up in the morning, if you've ever put on cologne or aftershave lotion or perfume or some kind of a fragrance, 2 hours later you can't smell it, but other people can? It's because they're encountering you for the first time. They can smell it on you. You have become immune to it. You don't smell it. Same thing happens when you perspire for 3 days and are wearing the same stinky t-shirt for all 3 days because it's got your favorite Disney character on it. People forget that they stink. They can't smell it, but the people around them can. And that's why there's always that one guy in the elevator that everybody pushes to the side and no one wants to touch because the flies that are circling around him are having a grand old time and we don't want to be anywhere near him. You will not smell yourself. You won't, I can promise you probably don't smell yourself now. You know, whether you use fragrant soap or whether you use cologne. Unless I mentioned it to you, you probably couldn't smell yourself. You weren't thinking about it because your nose is used to it. But I can guarantee you, if you put on something that has a fragrance, somebody that is just meeting you probably could smell it. Like I said, you just your sensors in your nose have become filled with that smell and you can't handle it anymore, so they just turn off. So that's why there's 621. 6 good, solid hours of sleep a night. Board members might be excluded from that because we're preventing problems. 2 good, sound meals a day, and 1 really good shower. 2 or 3 if you're a fursuiter, because we want you to be healthy and to not stink. And it's Florida. You're gonna get hot and sweaty. Any other questions? Yes, in the back here. So I can barely hear you. You said, is there any place in this hotel?
Yeah, to get dressed.
There is not a specific place to get dressed on site. You can get dressed in the headless zone, however, be aware there's going to be a lot of people around. There's no way to actually cordon off an area. Wearing one? Like I said, you probably could in the headless zone, but there's not a designated dressing zone. No, it's not. There's not a prohibition on it unless somebody really starts complaining, then we deal with it on a one-on-one basis. And I apologize, I have the hiccups again. So, any other questions? Yes.
Where can we pick up one of the con books?
Where can you pick up the con books? Registration area should have them. Also, one thing that we do at Megaplex that is a little different from everybody else, we firmly believe that every attendee is important. So you don't have to be a sponsor or a super sponsor to get a gift. Everybody should have gotten a little coupon that lets you get a glass. Did everybody get your glass at registration? Is there anybody that didn't? That didn't know that you got a free glass? No, everybody did? Good. Yeah, we believe in giving you a free glass so long as supplies last. So we ordered 2,000 of them. We're hoping that there will be enough. Gonna start wrapping this up. Any other questions, comments? Posers? Anybody's like, I got to know this. That guy is amazingly handsome. I gotta find out what he does. Oh, you think I'm amazingly handsome? Yes, go ahead.
Oh, yes, that goes back. Just out of curiosity, what was attendance last year and what is the head count so far this year?
Attendance last year versus this year. Last year's attendance, if I recall correctly, was 1,856.
76.
Was it 76?
76.
I was close. I am an old person now, numbers don't stick. The only number I know is I'm counting my days to Social Security. But in terms of this year's attendance, we had almost 1,200 pre-reg, and I know we had several hundred last night on-site reg. I do not know what the actual number is now. Typically our registration crew keeps that secret until closing ceremonies. And part of that is, most conventions have a little bit of a playful kind of competitiveness between them, but honestly, the numbers game is not important anymore. It never really was to start with, but we're not in competition with other conventions solely for a number. To us, that's ridiculous. We're in competition with ourselves to create the best convention we possibly can. And to give you an example of a furry convention that is unique, that is fun, and something you want to come back to next year. That's our goal. If you have a fun time and you want to come back, we did our job right. If you did not have fun, then something's wrong and we need to fix it. That's kind of our thing. Yeah.
What percentage of the hotel did we happen to get this year?
Offhand? I believe we have around 70-75% of the hotel this year, but again, don't quote me on that officially because I don't have the exact number. Yes?
Why is this called the Starship Second Place?
It's actually called the Starship Second Prize because Star Trek had the Starship Enterprise. So we are the Starship Second Prize, and because of all of the Windows 95 errors that we had during opening ceremonies, it's now the Starship Booby Prize. We're just trying to be, again, funny. We're trying to play with it. That's our thing. We want to make things... There was a poster last year which really encapsulated everything about Megaplex, and it comes from Monty Python. Megaplex, it is a silly place. All right, I'll take maybe one more question and then we'll wrap it up. Anybody else? Mr. Bunny?
I understand that every year you get like a new theme.
Yes.
But do you ever go back on a theme?
Do we ever go back on a theme? No. That is kind of a Megaplex tradition. We, as a convention, like to push our themes as far as possible. That's why we custom built all the stuff you see on the stage. We like to do things, again, differently. We like to push boundaries and see what we can come up with. We already, if you've seen the con book, you know what the theme is for next year. We already have debates going for themes for 2019, possibly 2020. We have some really cool ideas. I will say the Megaplex crew is one of the most creative and one of the most brilliant in terms of artistry of any con that I've been a part of. They are a wonderfully warm, creative crew that has a lot of ideas and is constantly open to new ideas. That's why sometimes we can't figure out which theme to go with because we sometimes have so many good ones on deck, we're like, which one's going to be the best one for us? But we typically do not resurrect old themes. We try not to because there's so many options out there. There's an infinite possibility of choice out there. Why try to duplicate something? Okay? All right, well, we're going to wrap this up. If anybody wants a first-time attendee ribbon, please come on up and I'll be happy to give you one. And thanks for coming. I hope you have a great weekend, everybody.